This is a conversation with grandparents who lost their 6-year-old grandson just 9 months after he was diagnosed with brain cancer. It is a story of how they fought to hold their family together while everything inside of them was falling apart. And how in the end, although they could not stop the storm pediatric cancer unleashed on their family, they chose to use its reign to nourish purpose, advocacy, and to grow a foundation that embodies their grandson's love of humanity. This is episode 3, part 1, Grandparents of a Superhero, the Ahmaud Butler story. Hey guys, welcome back to A Hope for a Cure podcast. I'm Latanya Morrison.
And I'm Jason Collins. And as always, this podcast exists for one reason: to give space to the people, the families, and the voices that are fighting for hope in the middle of cancer. And if you're new here, welcome.
So guys, before we jump into today's episode, I have to give a special shout out to David Goodman of Humanity Pictures. He calls me and he's like, podcast was great. We got to get you a microphone. Jason has been saying that for the longest. David, I thank you for being a supporter of the podcast, a supporter of our mission, believing in what we're doing and wanting us to be better. So we truly appreciate you. And now getting back to today's episode, guys, Jason and I are both in the nonprofit world. And we spend a lot of our lives just serving others, helping communities, supporting families and children by filling the gap that pediatric cancer causes for them. But I don't think a lot of people know that I didn't enter this work because I wanted to be in the nonprofit sector. I entered this work because tragedy forced me into it.
And that's why today this episode is different. Because today I'm not interviewing any guest. I'm interviewing my co-host, who's also the founder and executive director of the Ahmaud Butler Foundation, a nonprofit with a mission to support families battling pediatric cancer, alongside her husband, Keith Morrison, who serves as the board secretary and founder of ABS Sports and Athletics Division. See, the Ahmaud Butler Foundation was named after their late grandson, Ahmaud Captain Peterman Butler, who lost his battle with brain cancer only 9 months after being diagnosed. All right, everyone. This is a very special part of our podcast. We call this the superhero segment. But today is different for me. I'm interviewing my co host. This is Tanya and Keith's story. This is their grandson. This podcast and a foundation exist because of him. Normally, during this segment, I turn off my camera and give the floor to the story. And I'm going to do that again here. Latanya, Keith, thank you for trusting me with this. This is their lived experience as how they battle pediatric cancer alongside their grandson Ahmaud, Captain Peterman Butler.
You're welcome, Jason.
Before we talk about cancer or the foundation, who was Ahmaud Butler to the two of you?
Mine was Mike Puditu. I always I took pride in taking them just separately because at that time we had 3 grands and I dated them. And I remember taking him to Chuck E. Cheese's. He absolutely loved Chuck E. Cheese's, but he had this one game that he loved, and that was that basketball game. And we'd go in there, and before the ball hit that last ball hit the hoop, He was turning around asking for another coin so that he could play again. That that's just special to me. I know grandparents know that had being a grandparent and having that privilege is nothing like being a parent.
For me, I never say this, but Latanya and I, this is our second marriage. Um, and why is that important? Because when we worked together, we had two separate offices. We was in a brokerage firm, and our daughter, son-in-law, and three grands would come over, and they would all go to Latanya's office. She had all kinds of goodies and snacks and everything. But Ahmad would always end up in my office, which was around the corner. And he would always end up sitting on my lap, and he would always end up robbing my candy drawer. Um, in the beginning, I used to try to kick him away, not because I didn't like him, but because I was just uncomfortable. And he wouldn't allow that. I say all that to say that Ahmad chose me. Uh, we got along very well. We it's almost like we were cut from the same cloth. That sounds silly saying, from an adult male to a child, but we spoke the same language. Ahmad was my main man.
Latanya, who was Captain Pudeman and butler to Grandma?
Hmm, that was my Pudadu. My daughter named Ahmad Pudas. When I realized what he had ahead of him, I re-nicknamed him Captain Pudaman. And he took to that name. Oh my gosh. He took to that alter ego. He knew he was a superhero. He truly was a superhero.
Keith, what was your bond like with Ahmad as his grandfather?
Ahmad was extremely athletic. You would show him something one time and he got it. He learned how to ride a bike just by getting on it.
Gates.
He learned how to skate just by tying him up.
Putting him on.
And he learned how to ride a bike just from getting on it. So I was very athletic too. So I thought that was probably one of our first bonds because I could teach him stuff and he would allow me to.
What made Ahmad special? What kind of child was he at home, in your home?
So we actually had the privilege. And, sometimes things happen and you're like, oh my gosh. Our daughter wanted to go to work with our son-in-law. And our son-in-law is a longshoreman. And they went early, which meant that we would have to watch our three grandchildren. And for empty nesters to become parents again, that's actually what we were Monday through Friday. We were parents. We did homework. We took them to school. We made sure they had supper and all of that stuff. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is a lot. But in hindsight, I am so grateful that we had that time. We did the pumpkin carvings. We made sure they actually had that old school parenting, game nights, sitting around having conversations. That's just who we were as grandparents. And his first day of school, I remember that because anything he didn't like doing was boring. That's so boring. We're like, Pooh, you're going to have fun in school. It's kindergarten. Who doesn't have fun in kindergarten? And we would alternate taking him. The first day, of course, we took him together because that was his first day of school. And he would stand at the door and watch us to make sure we didn't leave and would wave the whole time as they were walking into the school. And he stands and then he looked. So we would stand there and make sure that he went all the way in. There was times that he came back to look out the door to make sure we were still standing there after the class went in there. So just having that time with them, it's priceless. And we didn't realize that then, but that was priceless.
When did you first start feeling like something wasn't right?
So my family knows this about me. And it may sound weird, but I am very intuitive. I have strong intuition. And one night I was laying in the bed. We were getting ready to go to bed. This was actually Keith and I was there by ourselves. I believe our daughter stopped working. She was like, okay, I had enough of that. I'm going back. I'm going back to being a stay-at-home wife. And she stopped working. And so we're laying in the bed. And I felt something, it seemed like something sat down on a bed behind me. And then there was a shadow over it, just a shadow just came over the room. And I started screaming, Kate, Kate, do you see that? And I guess it jarred them because he was like, you're sleeping. I said, I'm not sleeping. I am the parent. If people out there know about people that dream about fish, um, I have dreams and my dreams come true. I know you could call them visions. You could call it, everyone has their names for it. And I've always thought it was a curse. The first time that anything like that happened to me, I was about 8 years old. And I lived in a city. It was a corner store at one end of the block, another corner store at the other end of the block. And when we grew up, we had Pac-Man and asteroids and pinball. And I loved playing all of them. So one day, I go to the corner store and I'm playing a childhood friend. His name is Kevin. I'm playing him in the pinball. And all of a sudden I start shaking and I got really nervous and start crying. It was a horrible feeling. And the owner of the store, he's like, what's wrong? And I said, something is wrong. I don't know. I can't. And I couldn't stop. And while I'm talking to him, Kevin fell out and had a seizure.
Oh, wow.
Once the ambulance came, I ran home, cried to my mom, and my mother did exactly what mothers do. She gave me a hug and she told me, that's your body telling you something, telling you to get out there. So when that happens, we call it a gut. She says, when you get that gut feeling, that's your body telling you something is wrong. You go somewhere safe. And I understood that. I didn't like it, but as an 8-year-old, I understood it. A few months later, I went down to the other corner store and my parents would give me 50 cents. That 50 cents was supposed to last me because it was a quarter to play the games. But I would play the owner's son, and I was much better at him, at asteroids than him. So that 50 cents would last me an hour. So I'm down there, I'm playing a game, and I get that feeling. And I just burst out crying. I'm shaking. The store owner, he's like, what's the matter with you? And I said, something is wrong. My mom told me I have to leave. And I ran home. I'm crying, talking to my mother. And she did the same thing again. She comforted me and she told me I did the right thing. So a couple of hours later, she asked me if I felt okay. And I said, yes. And she said, can you go to the store? So I went to the store for her. I go down into the store and Mr. Al, he said, Tanya, you tell your mommy you have a gift. He said, when I left, there were cops all over the place. There were two people, a home invasion directly across the street.
they tied the mother and father, husband and wife, whoever, the adults up, and they were murdered. So that made me just think about everything that happened and the feelings that I get when I dream. And it's the weirdest thing. But one of the things that I do is I tell my family, before something happens, I tell them, it's easy to say, oh yeah, I had a dream about that after the fact, but I don't do that. I make sure that when I get that feeling, I share it with the people who are close to me. And I say, hey, something's not right. Or I had a dream about this and this happened. I've had dreams about fish with every last one of my grandchildren. Every last
Wow.
one. As a matter of fact, with Prince Charming, it was like Christmas or something, right? We were all there, and I'm like, hey guys, I had a dream about fish, and everyone's like, it's not me.
It was the summertime. We was away on a trip.
No, that was when they came, it was in the winter.
Okay.
It was like around Christmas because they were coming to pick the kids up.
Okay.
And I said I had a dream about, and Sierra and Dwayne said, nope, it's not me, it's not me. So it was them. Short story, long story short. But anyway, getting back to the night that I knew something was wrong, that had never happened to me before. And I also have night terrors, and they scare me. Those dreams really scare me.
Mm.
I was not sleeping. Keith thought I was sleeping. He kept on telling me that I was sleeping. I said, I'm not sleeping. And I went into the kitchen. I'm crying. My stomach was just in knots. Everyone's telling me everything is okay. I said, this has never happened to me before. Something is wrong, and this is big wrong. So I told my daughters, I told my mom, I just told everyone. And I remember my mom calling me a few days later, and my mom saying to me, you know, everything is okay. You see that? And I'm telling my mom, I said, Mom, it's not. And I know the difference because if it's a regular dream, when I wake up, everything is normal. I may be scared, but when I wake up and just get my bearings, everything is normal. But this wasn't a dream, and it stayed with me and it wouldn't leave. And the feeling was sickening. And I remember that. And I kept telling everyone, something is wrong. Something is wrong.
Keith, did you recognize that knowing in Latanya too?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Latanya had that same feeling in reference to me 5 years ago. She looked at me really strange. We were just sitting around the house and she was like, something's wrong. I was like, come on, Ty. Nothing's wrong. She was like, something's wrong and it's wrong with you. I need you to go to the doctors. I need you to get checked up. Something's really wrong.
And he was like, I just went to the doctors.
And I was like, I feel
Everything's fine.
great. I will go out. I will call her when I got where I got or where I was going. And I think within around 2 to 3 weeks.
But I was specific about that because when I was looking at his head, Keith has a little lump on his head, but he was born with that. And when I have these, whatever you want to call them, they're not perfect, but they're right. And I'm looking at his head and I'm crying. And he was like, come on, I'm fine. I said, I think you have cancer. But I thought it was in his head.
He wanted me to get that part of my head checked. And I did. I did. I never I had someone look at it because I thought about having it removed when I was much younger. And it was like it's best to just leave it alone because there is nothing. It's nothing. So why mess with it? I left it alone. So I got that part of my head tested and I went through other types of testing just to make her feel better. And long and behold, I was diagnosed with cancer. So to answer your question, is she true with it? always, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
Well,
It is. I used to feel like it was a curse, and something happened that changed that. And I guess we could share that later, guys.
take us to that night you both knew something was wrong. What happened?
So we have for Christmas, we bought our grandkids the game console. I don't know which one it was. And when I tell you they fought like crazy, they fought like crazy over that. We literally had to officiate every time they got in there and like, listen, guys, one at a time, take turns. Whoever loses gets off. It was just every time they came over. But this time it was different. A Shay and a Shot were playing a game, and Pooh was laying on the couch. This ball of energy laying on the couch. I'm like, Pooh, what's wrong, baby? He said, Grandma, my brain hurts. That was it. My heart fell through my stomach. That was it. We called our daughter. I said, Sierra, please take him to the hospital.
It just wasn't normal for a baby because he was 5 years old, and you're just a baby at 5 years old. You still have baby teeth. You still talk like a baby. It's not normal for a baby come and lay on his grandmother's lap and say his brain hurts. And those words are pretty jarring all to itself. Not his head hurt, his brain hurt.
When he said, Grandma, my brain hurts, what went through you?
It felt like electric went through me. It was a shock. It was my worst fear. Realized I knew something was wrong. I didn't know what, but I knew something was wrong. And I was just, when you know something is wrong, but you don't know exactly what is wrong, you're always worried. And I'm just saying to myself, please put it through. Please be okay. Please be okay.
When you got the call saying they found a mass on his brain, what do you remember most?
So after our daughter took him to the hospital, Keith took our oldest two, he took them to the playground. And I'm just sitting home worried, trying not to call. It had to have been maybe an hour. I remember my daughter calling me. It was no words. When I answered the phone, it was just this. I didn't stop. I just started running. I ran to get my sneakers and I'm running towards the door. But Keith was coming in the door. I didn't know that she called him first. And it didn't register until I got in the car. The only thing that I heard was my baby crying, that scream. And I knew she needed me and I wanted to get to her. And when I got into the car and we're riding down the highway, my brain just started rewinding and replaying it over and over and over again. Mom, they found a mass on his brain. They think it's cancer. He has to have surgery in the morning. Over and over and over again.
What did the doctors tell you that first night? And did you understand how serious it was?
Yeah, we understood how serious it was. They actually met with us and they told us that because of where the tumor was located, they would not be able to take it all out. They said that they wanted to make sure that in doing the surgery, that they didn't touch anything that would leave him in a vegetative state. They wanted to make sure that they didn't go so deep that when he woke up, he would still have his memory. So with pediatric cancer, it's a fight, but every day it's a different fight. That night, we were fighting for not just Ahmad, but fighting to keep our family together, to make sure that his parents were okay. You know, as parents, your kids will always be your babies, no matter how old they get. They'll always be your babies. And when they don't have answers, they're going to come to you for those answers. I remember when I got to the hospital and I saw Sierra. At that time, my son-in-law, his name's Dwayne. That time, Dwayne was with Sierra. And when she saw me, I don't know if she passed out or if she just collapsed in my arms. But she said, Mom, and she screamed and she said, he's only 5. And she just fell. When she fell to the floor, my arms were around her and I fell to the floor with her. And I just laid in the middle of the hospital floor with my baby until she got herself together and was ready to get up.
I wanted I wanted to fix him. I took on the role of being there and listening and helping out. And if something's wrong, I'll make it right. And I wanted to fix him. But that's the first time that I realized that my all of our hands was tied, and to have your baby, because he was all of our baby, to have your baby taken away from you and wheeled down to a room where they're going to perform surgery on him, you feel helpless and you feel hopeless. And all you have to lean on is each other. And you try your best to respect each other, if that makes sense.
And absolutely and be there for one another.
You don't want to hear what the other person is saying. They may want to talk, you don't want to talk. It's just so, I don't even know what to
That's
call
an
it.
unnatural space. It's an uncomfortable space to be in, that position, that helpless and hopeless position. Your world is destroyed. Your world is never the same. It's never the same. You start questioning everything. He's a baby. How can this happen? Who can help us?
But I still thought that he would be okay. I still held on to him pulling out of it.
And I knew he wouldn't. I knew he wasn't going to make it.
The morning of surgery, what were you most afraid of?
Again, that's another fight. When he had his surgery, we were worried that there were four outcomes. The best possible outcome was that he would wake up and everything would be okay. But there was a chance that he would not wake up, that he could not come out of surgery. There was a chance that they could go too deep and it would make him a vegetable, leave him on life support. And there was a chance that he wouldn't remember us. So we were dealing with all of that. And that feeling, okay, hurry up and let this surgery be over. And the surgery took hours. And then once he came out of surgery, he had to go through recovery, and then the pain medicine had to wear off. So we just had to wait. And that was brutal. Just waiting and not knowing.
The waiting room was full of Ahmad's family. And I remember when it was, because you could go in two at a time. I remember when it was Latanya and my turn to go in.
We went in first.
He remembered us.
And that was when he saw us, and it was because he had all kinds of tubes in him. They had tubes in his nose so that he was able to talk. And when I said, "Hi, Pooh," he said, "Hi, Grandma." Whew.
And when you go through a battle, we still don't know what to really expect, right? This is just day one of the surgery, so we still don't know what we're about to face.
Right.
But when you have a large battle like this, it's not a fight. It's a continuous battle. And when you have a battle like this, looking back, I realize you celebrate one small victory at a time. So because he remembered us.
That was right. And when we looked at him, we weren't even looking like you could look at him and see something was wrong on one side of his face. But we were thinking, okay, that's from the surgery. But then the doctor came in, and that's when we were told that he was paralyzed on his left side. So now that's the next fight. Remember, there's always a different fight. Every day is something else. So he said, we're going to try to get him to walk again, learn to walk, and hopefully he can use his arms. And he smiled with half of his face, his mouth. The left side didn't move. The only thing that he was able to do was open his eyes. But
the eye didn't look right neither. You could tell that the whole side just wasn't working right. He walked with a brace.
he had to walk with a brace.
He walked with a brace.
And he never learned how to use from his waist up. He never learned how to use it. We literally had to it looked like a splint, but it was something that kept his arm close to his body, because if we didn't have his arm close to a body, it would dangle. So when he went to sleep, to keep him from breaking his arm because he couldn't feel it, or to keep from dislocating it, we had to wrap it close to him. He only had use of his right side, and he was a lefty.
And bring you back for a moment. When you walked into the ICU and he spoke, what did that moment mean to you both?
That was hope. That gave us hope.
Agree. We had a chance.
After that hope, what happened when the doctors told you about his paralysis?
So he went through a couple of months. He stayed at a physical therapy place over in Marlton, New Jersey. And that helped him. He learned how to walk. But let me just tell you something. What he lost in his body, in his arms, in his face, he gained in spirit. He was a lover of people. This young man, and all of our grandkids are like this. They talk to strangers, and we're like, you can't talk to strangers. Like, what are we going to do with them? They talk to strangers. And he's like, the man was sad, grandma. He'd get into an elevator, and if someone is looking sad, he go, Captain, who the man? What adult can see a kid say something like that and not look at him or her and smile? And once he saw that person smile, my job is done. He'd come back over to us. We're like, Boo, you can't talk to strangers, baby. The man would say,
He was a complete ham.
he was.
He, at first, I thought now this is me speaking, and I could be right and I could be wrong, but it's my truth. At first, I thought he wanted the attention, but I stopped believing that he wanted the attention. I believe what he wanted was to make us happy, to bring us together, and to put a smile on our face. I don't care. I don't care how hard you try. When you're nervous, when you're scared, when you're frightened, people that know you're not. So he would make sure that his parents was cool. His grandparents on both sides was cool. His aunts, his uncles, he made sure that everybody in the room knew that he got this and he was good. Are you good? So he wasn't a ham. He wasn't a ham. He was our superhero.
Absolutely.
He was our superhero. Then I went on to thinking, he loves busting on me. He loves talk about, I'm gonna get his little butt. But you know what I realized? And I didn't realize this while Pooh was here. I realized this during my own battle. Pooh knew that he could use me. He knew that I loved him enough that he could talk about me, he could bust on me in front of people, and it was okay. It took his mind off of what he had to focus on. And I am so honored that he thought to put me in that place. I would come in and the doctor's giving the family gloom and doom news. And I would come in the room and he'd be like, look at Grandpa, he too sexy for his shirt. And everybody busts out laughing and the whole atmosphere changes. I can't tell you how many times he's done that. He was our hero.
Ahmad fought for 9 months. What do those 9 months represent to you today?
For me, those 9 months gave me life. Um, my heart smiled and broke. at the same time. Um, it was fast and slow. It was slow because I had to watch him die, and it wasn't easy. It's not easy to watch your child die. A slow, painful death. And there was something that my mom used to tell me, and I didn't understand it until I became an adult and until I had kids. And my mom used to say, I'll fight lightning and throw thunder for you. I remember that because that's how I feel about mine. And I'll fight lightning and throw thunder twice for my grandkids. I remember one day having a conversation with him, and I lied to him, and I told him that I will fight lightning and I will throw thunder for you. And I will take your disease. I'll take it. And he looked at me and he said, why won't you? That's the first time he told me he didn't want to die. I couldn't save him. I couldn't help him. I couldn't take his pain away. I had to sit there and I had to watch while cancer ripped him to shreds. And it was nothing that I could do to protect him. So when people say that I have fire in me, you are darn right, I have fire in me. Because cancer took something from me. Cancer destroyed my family. It killed my baby. And I will fight cancer with everything that I have from now until I have no more fight left in me. And people ask about my will. That's my will. I'm not fighting for him. But if I save someone else's child, that works. And that's my goal. That's my life's purpose. And I have no other wish other than to kill cancer. I mean that with everything in me.
For me, it's, I know exactly what I want to say. I'm trying to think how I can say it to make it make sense. Ahmad was my greatest example. How can a 5-year-old be your greatest example? The way my mind works is I'll hold on to what I need without knowing that I'm holding on to it. And then I'll remember, oh, that's why I held on to this. If that makes sense to you. I never thought that I would have to fight something that I can't see. If something goes wrong in my life, and I've had a lot of things go wrong, you accept it, you deal with it, and you move on. But cancer is so much trickery involved in it because The cancer is not what knocks you down, it's the treatment. And the treatment knocks you down to your lowest of lows. So we all know there are certain people that love you, care about you, but you just can't talk to them because they're going to tell you something that's going to make you feel worse than what you do. People don't know what to say when you're sick. People don't know what to say when someone dies. So I've learned who to speak to and who not to speak to, but I can't constantly dump on my wife. So when I'm scared, which happens a lot, uh, when I feel like, why me? When I feel like giving up, when I feel like no one understands, I remember mine. I remember him telling me that I'm tough because I have to be. It's a lot of meaning in that little small sentence. I remember when his mother and father used to stay at the hospital. And because dad was providing for the home and because mom was pregnant with baby number 4, whenever they needed someone else to stay, I would go and stay. This particular night, we got no rest. I had the worst night possible. He was constantly throwing up. They had him on
Chemo.
chemo and it just wasn't taken right. I think he threw up over the whole bed about 3 or 4 times, the entire bed. I've never seen that much in my life. And he was embarrassed. Why? I knew my grandson. And it was a female nurse. And she was like, I'll take care of it. He would just look at me and I was like, no, just leave the blankets, leave this, leave that. I'll take care of everything. I'll put it on the side and just come get it. And I one time was so bad I had to take him into the bathroom and wash him up. And all 4 of my grandkids and myself made a promise to each other. Promises that we will never lie to each other. No matter how hard it gets, no matter how tough it gets, no matter how embarrassing it is. He reminded me of that and he asked me immediately following, am I going to die? This is something he would ask everybody whenever he was alone with someone. He wanted to know some things you can't hide, some things you just have that feeling and he wanted to know. And I told him that we're all going to die one day. That wasn't enough. He said, I know. He said, but am I going to die because of all of this? And I said yes. And I never broke my promise to him. And I hugged him and I told him that everyone that's here with you will be with you and support you for as long as we have. I never shared that with anyone before, but I was not willing to break my promise to him. I was not willing to break my word to him. Ahmad was number one, caring for everybody else, no matter what he went through. That's one lesson I got of it. Number two, even through all his battles and all his fears, he walked right through them and he never complained. And he did it with a smile. And number three, he was full of life. He was the life of the party. He made everybody happy. He made everybody smile. And if you ask me, that's how you beat cancer. He won his battle. He just expired.
Was there a moment you realized the fight was coming to an end?
Absolutely. About, I'm going to say in October, he went to the doctor's. It was a regular appointment. He stayed over. I think his numbers were low. And the doctor told us that he couldn't feel anything in his legs. So we're like, okay. My daughter says, so Mom, they're saying that he can't feel anything. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's saying they're saying that he can't feel anything in his legs. So you're telling me that he's paralyzed from the waist down? They would always take scans. That was just common. And they came to us and they told us that the medication was not working, that the cancer started spreading to his spinal cord. I remember the day that they told us, they warned us that this would happen. We didn't think it would happen that fast. And the doctor said, we will need someone to catheterize him. There was about 5 of us in the room. And everyone got up and left the room. My daughter just couldn't even think about it. So I say, you teach me what you need me to do. So that was that slow but fast change when we knew that it's just a matter of time. He no longer had control of his bladder and his bowels. So we put a pamper on him, and I had to catheterize him so that we could release the fluid, his urine. Speaking of that, I remember, now what we didn't share was that because our daughter was pregnant with baby number 4, and she was very high risk, Keith and I decided to keep Ahmad. Tell you a quick story. We said we would keep him because we didn't want our daughter at the time. They were in an apartment and they were on the 3rd floor. We didn't want her to have to care for him because she couldn't. And we had a condo, and everything was on the floor, so it was perfect. So we were like, we'll keep him when he's out of the hospital. So when he came home from the hospital, he lived with us. And kids love their grandparents. So Monday through Friday, he stayed with us. On weekends, he went home. And it wasn't even on weekends. He went home Saturday. He came home either Saturday evening. He went home Friday. He came home either Saturday evening or first thing Sunday morning. He didn't even want that. So once he got bad, we made the decision to just let him live with us whenever he's not in the hospital. So this Friday, he's like, okay. He gets sad on Friday when it's time to go home. Pooh, I know, it's time to go home to Mom and Dad. And we were like, no, baby. And Ahmad had, the very first night when he said his brain hurt, he went to the emergency room. They gave him a cheetah. And that was, aside from his big brother and Michael, the cheetah was his best friend. The cheetah allowed him to say things. He said, I didn't say that. The cheetah said it. So he carried this cheetah everywhere he went. That was like his security blanket. And whenever he left, the first thing he do, grab Cheetah. Come on, Cheetah. Like, it's time to go back to Mom and Dad's. Well, we broke the news that he would be living with us. And he said, hooray. And we're corny grandparents. So Keith and I, we're singing stuff like The Wheels on a Bus, and we have the remote in our hand and we're singing these songs. He goes, it's my turn. It's my turn. Okay, Pooh. He grabs the cheetah and they go to the middle of the living room. He grabs the microphone. Cheetah is under his arm and he has what we used as the microphone, which was the remote control. And this little sweetheart of a kid sang John Legend's All of Me Loves All of You. We didn't even know he knew the words. I just melted into the couch. And he did this, Grandma, Grandpa. And he waved us in and we got close to him. And he says, he wanted a kiss. And he said, he gave us this wet, sloppy kiss. And he said, I love you guys more than anything. He said, and I'm going to love you guys more than anything, even when I die. I said, Pooh, you're not going to die. He just went on about his business. And I just sunk into the couch. And that it made my day earlier and it ruined my day when he said that. And I just want you to remember that. Because once he lost his battle, once he died, we've always kept his urn. We keep his urn. We keep the cheetah with his urn. He has his little corner. When I wake up in the morning, I cut that light on. I kiss his urn. I give Cheetah a hug and look at his picture and I talk to him. And that's how I start my day. I tell people this all the time. The energy doesn't die. Energy transcends. I feel him. I feel him. And one day our daughter she was having a hard time. And I asked her if she wanted Pooh. Now, he's been with us since his funeral. When they put him into, cremated him and put him into the urn, we kept him. And when I said it, before the words even left my mouth, I regretted it. And my daughter said, yes. So she came and got him and she took him. And it was weird. I felt his absence. Now, what most people don't know about me is I have a bone disease. I have to have surgery every other month just so that I can walk normally. When I'm bad, I fall, my gait is off. Keith is very protective of me. And this one night, and another thing in reference to baby number 4, Dwayne and Sierra knew that Ahmad was not going to be around. So they wanted him to be part of his siblings' life. And they let him name our 4th grandchild. So he goes, if it's a girl, her name's going to be Cinderella. And if it's a boy, his name's going to be Prince Charming. So we have a Prince Charming in our family. Prince Charming, whenever he can stay with Grandma and Grandpa's house, he stays with us. Back then he was 2, so we would get him on weekends. And this one night, we're taking him home a day early, but he didn't know any better because he was 2. Because we had date night. So as soon as I get to the house, the first thing that I want to see is my Pooh do. I said, Sierra, where's Pooh? I'm looking around, I don't see him. She said, he's in the closet. I said, in the closet? I didn't even realize I was yelling until I said it. She said, Mom, I didn't want the baby to knock the urn over. The urn is heavy. I said, Sierra, please let us take him back. She said, okay. Going back to that night, Now, we go out on our date. We come home. Keith is like, I have to go to the bathroom. It's like 12 o'clock in the morning. I have to go to the bathroom. I'm going to make sure that I set Pooh and the cheetah up, and I'll get your stuff as soon as I come back from the bathroom. I didn't care. I had my Pooh to do. So I'm sitting there, and he did exactly that. He set him up, and I'm just sitting there like he's back. He goes upstairs, and I'm like, that is weird. Where is that coming from? So I get up, and I'm like making my way to the front door, and I look outside, pin drop, quiet, pitch black out. And Keith heard me open the door. He came running down. What are you doing up? I said, you don't hear that? He said, I don't hear anything. Now, if he don't see something, he don't believe it. I said, stop talking and listen. By that time, I shut the door and I had made it back over to my chair. And his eyes, he did exactly that. He stopped talking and his eyes got big. And he looked at me, and the first thing that he did was go to the door and look outside the door. And he shut the door and he looked at me and I looked at him, and he plopped down in a chair across from me, and we stared at each other. And I swear to you, Jason, for at least 30 seconds, all we heard was our grandson's voice singing, "All we loves all," over and over and over again. And just like that, it went away. Things happen and you can explain it away. I couldn't explain it away because he heard it.
And she asked me, she said, what do you think people are going to say about this? And I said, they'll never know because I'm not telling nobody. She was like, well, I'm telling everybody.
I'm telling everyone. He says, yeah, people ain't going to think I'm crazy like they think you're crazy. But and it was so weird because it wasn't a loud, it was muffled. And if the television or something else would have been on, we wouldn't have heard it.
It was like somebody was singing you a lullaby. So you see that this one can talk. And I think the question was, when did we know, Jason?
It was, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Was there a moment you realized the fight was coming to an end?
Well, we were getting bad news after bad news after bad news.
And they put him on hospice.
But before they put him on hospice, he was in a wheelchair. It was affecting his spine. He had to get catheterized. So he's just getting so much bad news. And for me, I started my day with mine. We were going to the bathroom, and before I would go to work, I would get him washed and dressed and showered or whatever, brush teeth, and we would come out, and then I would go to work. Grandma would have breakfast ready for him. And when we went into the bathroom, we cut up. We did and said, and we just wilded out and was as crazy as can be. And when grandma came to the door to say, what are you guys doing? We were straightened up like nothing was going on. We're not doing anything. So we would talk about each other, we would sing songs, we would be really crazy.
He loved Let's Groove Tonight.
He loved Let's
Earth, Wind, and Fire.
And I knew, even with the bad news, I knew that things was going bad because he lost his energy. He got tired. He didn't want to play anymore. Um, he would watch movies. He would watch the same movie every night.
Museum.
Excuse me 1 second. He would watch, we would get him, a tray. And on that
A
tray, we
snack
would put
tray.
all kinds of the snacks that he liked. Because at this point, we're just going to make you happy and comfortable.
Mm.
He would watch this movie
Mm.
every night, A Night at the Museum. This is the exact movie. I kept it. We would go through movies to watch. After watching that, say, 35, 45 times, we would go through the remote and see, well, what do you want to watch tonight? Let's watch something different. They're like, I think I want to watch this. I said, okay, good. And he'll put it on, and 20 seconds, and he said, no, 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 no. Go back to the other movie. We watched The Night at the Museum at least 100 times between grandmama and I. And we would sit there and laugh and joke like it was the first time we ever saw it. So I knew that Maud was nearing the end of his battle when he became tired and just didn't want to do anymore because that's not who he was.